league's more dynamic personalities. We're talking about the Maryland Terrapins. Mike Locksley entering his 7th season at the helm. The Terps turning the page with 2 new coordinators, Pep Hamilton and Ted Monachino on defense. Maryland's roster, they've been reshaped through the portal after they had 6 guys drafted last season, returning just 4 starters, so this will be a new look group. And Coach Locksley has told those guys to check their Gucci belts at the door, is what I'm told. Coach, welcome to Media Days. It's great to see you. I know it's been a long day, so thanks for spending some time with us. I know you're talking about elevate and brotherhood, and specifically when it comes to what you guys want this mentality to be for this crew coming in and leaving their Gucci belts at the door. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, it's a tough pill for me to swallow when a guy like me and Coach and Howard I've known for years to sit up and know that I lost my locker room. I mean, it was the new landscape of college football, and it was as I sat back and looked at a year ago, it bothered me because that's my strength, the locker room, and to have to sit there and say, and I didn't lose it because I'm a bad coach or they're bad kids. It's teaching 18 to 22-year-olds that were used to everybody's scholarship check being the same amount of money, why little Billy has his Mr. T starter kit on, or why he has the Dodge Charger and I don't. And these were conversations that probably needed to be had on the front end and not necessarily in the middle of the year. And as I found at the end of the season, it was a big part of why we won 4 games.
And so how has that message been received?
They know I'll put a desk in that locker room before I lose that locker room again. But also going through it, as most things in my life, when I have had failures, I self-scout and figure out, hey, what went wrong? And what went wrong was we need to do a better job of educating the players on what the new business of football looked like, and that everybody doesn't get the same. And that's the way the real world works. And so we changed some things in the locker room, changed people. We changed people upstairs. I've changed my approach. I've got freshmen talking to the media. It's a new landscape, and as a coach, you have to be ready to adjust.
You've also had change on your coaching staff, both new coordinators. How do you manage the scheme on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, again, I took this from my 3 years there with Coach Saban. The language doesn't change, meaning the terminology is very consistent for our guys, but each coordinator is able to put their personalities on it. Instead of one guy coming in and 40 guys learning a new language, right, we had one guy come in and learn our language and then maybe add to the language. And to me, it's worked well because Pep has been one of my closest friends in this business for the last 30 years. I've remembered Pep as a player at Howard University, coaching under Steve Wilson, and we worked really well together. And because of it, you know, we're a lot more aligned than any coordinator I've had in my program, and it makes it easier for me to get back in that locker room that I lost.
What would you say now what are the pillars of what this program has to be so that you don't end up in a situation where you feel like you've lost your locker room?
Well, the pillars haven't changed. The standard to be a Terp is toughness, effort, relentlessness, and pride, the right kind of pride. What I needed to do was educate our players. I've always been an educator and a teacher. How do I take the game of football to teach life lessons? And a lot of programs went through it. I don't think a lot of coaches are willing to admit it, and thankfully for the therapy that I do on Mondays at 9 with old Dr. Levy, being vulnerable is something I think that really helps you in that locker room, because I'm not blaming just them for us winning 4 games. The ownership of me, making sure I do the things to educate, because we had haves and have-nots. I mean, imagine a guy like Roman Hemby, who took me to 3 bowl games and won all 3, having to deal with maybe not getting as much because a freshman coming in. I had enough to give a freshman a ham sandwich, and now they're in the locker room competing, and this generation of kid wants everybody to know what they make. Well, as we know as adults, your family life, your paycheck, those aren't discussed amongst each other. And so those are life lessons that I have to teach, and I am teaching now about the financial business side of football.
Coach, your strengths have always been offensive football and recruiting. I think you're one of the few coaches in the country that blends that so well. What's the difference between recruiting a portal player and a high school player?
Yeah, the college coaches, my assistant coaches in college, they had a rude awakening, because I don't need them to evaluate portal guys. I need them to grade them, but I need them to recruit high school players. They don't necessarily have to recruit a portal guy, because the portal recruiting is about dollars and cents and transactions, and now they have to teach them, hey, this is what I can do to help you create value. But the recruiting piece of the portal or the free agency is a little bit different. And I knew I was in trouble when we had our first portal weekend, and our starting left tackle was hosting the left tackle we were bringing in. And I'm looking, and when I walk up to dinner, like, what are we doing here? This is you don't want this guy hosting him. Show him a bad time. Right. And so, but those were the learning curves of what this new landscape means. And so it's been a learning experience for us. We've taken the lessons. We'll be better for it.
You talked about you don't need them to evaluate portal guys as well, but the landscape of college football now is going to the general manager, having someone that's all they do is to look at the roster. Where do you guys fall?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different approaches. You have the Jerry Jones, Al Davis approach, where the boss, whoever has the money, makes the decisions. You have the head coach, Bill Belichick approach, where he controlled the 53-man roster. And then you have the collaborative approach. And, you know, I had guys like Rick Smith in my village, because Rob Smith, his son, was on a team there, and Rick has spent many of years building teams. And, you know, the collaborative approach works best for me, because I think there need to be checks and balances. You know, when you sign a player for $1 million, there better be some checks and balances, because somebody is going to pay the price if it doesn't work out. And so I think there's a place for the general manager who spends most of his time evaluating our roster needs, which allows the coaches to spend more time developing the players, coaching the players, putting schemes together. And for me, I've got to have my hands in both areas, because I'm going to have the final say on who we bring into our program. It's just the way it has to be if I'm going to stand in the front and own the things that I need to own as a head coach.
Of all the changes that have happened, the one you like the most and dislike the most?
Well, the one I like the most is that, you know, I grew up in an era where I saw Patrick Ewing go from playing in McDonough Gym there on Georgetown campus to selling out the Capitol Center as we knew it. And Georgetown made a lot of money off of Pat, Alonzo, Dikembe, and those guys. Well, the part I like is that these kids are being rewarded for the work and for the value they bring to institutions. What I don't like the most is the value of the degree has really changed in the minds. When I go into a home, that degree, that key of the degree isn't as prevalent. I mean, I've seen a kid lose 30 hours over $150,000, which becomes $75,000 when you take the taxes out of it. So imagine a kid leaving for $150,000 more, losing 30 credit hours. Now he's a year behind in school. He signs as a free agent, and then he doesn't play in the league very long, and he's got to figure out how to get his degree.
I think that's the part that is not being talked about enough, quite frankly. I think because that is a very real.
Although the stats tell us last year there were more college graduates playing than any other time in the history of college football. So I think we have to let it play out a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that an individual family or an individual may devalue it. I think as a whole, I think we can hang on to the value of it.
I do think, though, the credits transferring is I think that's the biggest thing that people don't fully realize, how few of those. I want to talk about the three guys that you brought here with you today, because three terrific young men. We got to talk to them earlier. And Isaiah Wright in particular, let's talk with him, start with him, because he transfers in. He's so excited, has that preseason injury, and had to sit all of last year. So what does a healthy Isaiah Wright bring to the mix?
You know, his versatility up front, and there was not an injury that impacted our team a year ago more than Isaiah Wright's, because the day I got the call on vacation that he tore his Achilles just planning and changing direction, I knew I was going to have to play at least two true freshmen now in the starting positions. Like, we started Therese Davis as a freshman, and we started Michael Hershey as a freshman, a byproduct of that injury. And in this league, freshman O-linemen that come in typically as developmental guys aren't ready for that. And losing Isaiah hurt us on the field, but I saw so much leadership out of him behind the scenes, which is why he's here with us today, because, you know, leadership doesn't have a time stamp on it. It doesn't say you have to be here 2 years. You have to start 10 games. For us, we define it as having a positive impact on other players, and he did just that because he mentored those freshmen. He played a role behind the scenes in that locker room when things got a little rough, and I'm leaning heavily on him as we try to pick up the pieces.
It's going to be fun to watch. I do have to ask you one last thing. Is Daniel Wingate, I think he won Best Dressed Player that I saw today. That yellow suit was... And you're giving him a run for his money, but...
Best dressed coach is like a runaway, right?
Hands down.
It's not even close.
No offense to all the other really...
Trash truck over here, man. You can put white walls on the trash truck, Coach. Come on, man.
Everyone else is competing for 2 on the coach's boot.
I don't think we are going to be able to show it on TV, but you did show me when you pop the collar on the back. What does the back of your suit say? Locked in.
Locked
I got
in.
the key to unlock it. Yeah, I got to unlock this stuff, man.
Oh, it's so good. And this is a look at Wingate's sporting that yellow suit. There is a certain confidence, I feel like. And that's going to be the biggest thing. As so many people on this set today have said the biggest difference between winning and not winning is confidence. Where do you think your team is with that?
Well, I grew up in the Joe Gibbs era where he was the biggest sandbagger in the history. And I know a lot of people don't have a lot of expectations out of the Terps, but we got us a good little team. I really like this team because we're so young, so new that you don't know what to expect. And I kind of like that. I grew up in that type of – I didn't know where that next meal was coming from.
Okay.
So.
How much does the crises energize you?
Oh, I thrive off that.
Yeah.
Complacency kills dreams, man. Come on.
Well, it's all going to start before we know it, and the first 2 games are on the Big Ten Network. The season kicks off 40 days from now against FAU. I do want to ask you, though, you guys have a historic trip to the Rose Bowl, first time that Maryland will play in that iconic stadium. Your guys were juiced up even thinking about that opportunity.
Yeah, we got a few games before we get to the Rose Bowl, but I will say that's what makes this league really special to me. I've had a chance to coach in the Rose Bowl for Howard's alma mater. They go very well that night.
That's okay.
But
That's all right.
Spent time there. But no, that's what this league is about, and adding those West Coast teams, the value that they have brought to this league has been great. And I, as a Big Ten guy that's coached in the SEC and the ACC, there's no doubt this is the best league.
Everyone has talked, not everyone, but most coaches have talked about Commissioner Capiti. What has he brought to the conference?
You know what? Tony's like he kind of reminds me of Jim Delaney a little bit. He's got a little Coach Delaney in him. He don't talk loud, and he whispers a little bit. Almost like kind of that mob whisper.
Yeah. Oh, easy now, Coach. Easy.
Gerry knows that whisper. Gerry knows that whisper.
What are you talking about, Coach?
No such thing.
Mike Locksley, it is always a delight to get to spend some time with you. Thanks so much for making it, and best of luck this year. We're looking forward to watching this team.
Appreciate you guys.
All right.